Well, between the Civil War and the 1950s, thousands of African Americans were lynched in the United States.
In 2015, the Equal Justice Initiative released a report saying the legacy of lynching in America has largely been ignored. Alachua County Commissioners are hoping to help correct this. WFT's Maggie Lorenz took an in-depth look at the county's decision and the ways it may affect the community.
Commissioners voted unanimously to place memorial markers to remember those lynched in Alachua County. The report documents 331 lynchings in Florida. Per black capita, more African Americans were lynched in Florida than any other southern state. The report has 19 lynching deaths on record for Alachua County, third most in the state behind Orange and Marion counties. One of the most notorious cases was in Newberry. It was 100 years ago, but still something that's very sensitive to bring up.
Born in 1932, Freddie Warmack has lived in Newberry his entire 84 years of life.
Things have changed now. It's getting better, but it could be better.
As the first African American to be elected mayor of Newberry, he's seen race relations in the city change dramatically over the decades.
Get him a hat like me, Freddie.
I remember the time that one section of town you couldn't go in, and you couldn't go to the bank and borrow money. You couldn't go to the restaurant. All those things I can remember.
Warmack also remembers the stories told from elders and neighbors who lived around him. Stories of horrific crimes committed in Newberry in the early 20th century. In August of 1916, 6 people were lynched by a mob. 1 was shot, 5 were hanged. Now, 100 years later, the Alachua County Commission is moving forward with efforts to memorialize the lives of lynching victims.
These were things that terrorized a whole segment of our community, and the repercussions are felt today.
The Equal Justice Initiative has recorded 19 people lynched in Alachua County between 1877 and 1950.
Something that we just need to not allow to be forgotten.
In January, the commission voted unanimously to place markers around the county commemorating the lives of those lynched in Alachua County. Hutchinson has suggested placing the markers on the closest public right-of-way to each lynching.
A problem with placing markers on the actual sites is sometimes it's not clear exactly where that is. Some people believe the Newberry lynching happened somewhere on this property where I'm standing. However, others say it happened on this property across the street, and this big oak tree behind me could have been the actual lynching tree.
William Logan, an English professor at the University of Florida, was one of many people over the years who've asked the county to memorialize lynch victims.
It's a tremendous crime in America. It's a horrible past, but we don't do the past any good by trying to forget it.
Not everyone shares that sentiment. The current mayor of Newberry says he'd prefer to look toward the city's future, not the torments of decades earlier.
Let's focus on things where we can work together and make Newberry a more inclusive place, a more loving place.
He says he doesn't feel like a lynch victim memorial would bring the community together in a positive way.
I just don't think it's a move towards unity to focus on a part of our past that we all wish didn't happen.
It happened. You can't sweep that under the rug.
Patricia Hilliard-Nunn teaches African American studies at UF. She's worked personally with some of the direct descendants of the Newberry lynching and members of Pleasant Plain Church, where some of the victims are buried.
I think that some of those families, some of those descendants or friends were ready to do this, because that lynching, that terrorism is a very difficult thing to process.
She's currently involved in separate efforts to place 2 historical markers in Newberry, one to commemorate the lynching and one to mark the historical contributions of African Americans in the county.
The memorial will bring that back, what actually happened, and give future kids and whatnot a chance to know what really happened where they live.
The County Commission will hold a series of public meetings for input on the memorials, the first being tonight at 6 p.m. Commissioners want residents to decide how they should look and what they should say. Hutchinson anticipates the funding will most likely be raised privately through donations.
Great report, Maggie. Thank you so much.